Hey guys, remember Bates Motel, Season 5, Episode 2, The Convergence of the Twain, and I was definitely really looking forward to this episode. As you guys know, I loved last week's premiere. I thought it was really different but very ambitious, and I thought it was a very good way to start off this final season. That being said, though, again, I really didn't know what this episode was going to entail, and I like that. I like the uncertainty that the season is giving us, and I have to say this was definitely different from the first episode, but it definitely gave us, I think, a better look of what the season's really going to be. I really did love this episode overall. Already some really shocking things going on, especially the ending. I was definitely not expecting that at all. But let's just get into this episode and talk about everything that happened because really a lot did happen in this episode. Not as much as last week, but still a lot definitely did happen, especially towards the end. So we start off, and I was quite surprised with the way the episode starts off because we see Norman. He's driving on what appears to be a peaceful day until we see that he's nearing a prison, and we know, of course, where he's going. Romero's in the prison kitchen washing dishes, and Norman shows up to visit him, and I'm like, oh shit, we're already getting this confrontation. You guys know one of the things I'm most looking forward to, actually probably the thing I'm most looking forward to, is seeing these two in a scene together because there's just so much animosity between them. Romero knows that Norman killed Norma. Norman is trying to make Romero look crazy. He's trying to drive him mad, and there's just so much stuff going on here. Romero's shocked to see Norman, who reveals to him that he knows about the friend that Romero sent to kill him, and I love it. He just straight up tells him, like, he doesn't even try to hold it back. Norman then talks to Romero about when he was locked up, himself blaming Romero for his being put away, and as Norman leaves, Romero warns him that he's coming for him when he least expects it, and just a great way to start the episode. I love the way that was done. Just again, showing that these two are going to be battling it out all season. I can't wait to see the way that's going to go. So Dylan and Emma don't have a ton to do in this episode. They have only a couple scenes, but I did like what we saw them here because Dylan and Emma are still dealing with Caleb's leaving. Emma reveals to Dylan that she spoke with Caleb about his complicated relation with them and how it wouldn't be good for their daughter when she grows up. And Dylan feels sad because he genuinely does know that Caleb cares and that he wants to be in Dylan's life. But he's also relieved because he doesn't want Caleb in his daughter's life, obviously. He doesn't want her to have to deal with what he had to. But at the same time, he knows that Caleb really does mean well. But there's just so much bad blood between them, and there's so much stuff that these two have been through that he just can't bring himself back into Caleb's life. So it's kind of an unfortunate situation. I really did kind of feel bad for Caleb in this situation because, like I said, Caleb does mean well. He's not trying to genuinely, hurt Dylan. He wants to be in Dylan's life. It's just, he has so many bad connections, and there are just so many things that Caleb is doing, and anytime that Caleb turns up into Dylan's life, it always erupts into chaos. And things are pretty great for Dylan right now. They seem to be having a pretty great life. So Emma opens up about her mother, who she wishes she had a relationship with, but she, of course, never really sees her. And Emma still has no idea that Norman previously killed her mom, which I love. That, again, that's another revelation that we still left open. That again gives us something to build on. It gives us another reason for Emma to still be in the show, and it gives us another reason for her to have animosity against Norman. She has no idea what he really did, but when that comes out, I think that's definitely going to come out before the show ends, and I can't wait to see the way that goes down. So one of the things I was most surprised about in this episode was the extension of Caleb, because I knew Caleb was still going to be in this show. I did not expect him to be in it as much because he's listed as a recurring character, not a main character. We'll get into why, but he ventures back to White Pine Bay. He makes his way up to the house. When no one home, he finds a way to get inside and is calling out to Norma, obviously because he wants to visit her, but he sees that the house is very dark and quiet. He looks all around the house in each room, and he finds a book called The Lost Art of Mummification, and when no response in the house, he leaves. He doesn't know really what's going on, why she's not there, but he ends up leaving, and just that scene, you honestly do kind of feel bad for Caleb, even though you know what he did to Norma. Again, he's so in the dark about things, and you kind of do feel bad for him. So Romero's back in the kitchen in prison where a fight starts between him and another prisoner, and he just gets the shit beat out of him. He's hoping that he can use his being injured in the fight as a way for him to get out of jail, which, yeah, I mean, that would definitely make a lot of sense. If he's injured and he can't put up a fight, I mean, it would show that he is innocent and that he's not, as vicious as some of the other prisoners are, and that's obviously the thing that's going to get him out of jail. So in downtown White Pine Bay, Norman sits, and I love that Romero, by the way, is just taking it. Like, in this scene, he's genuinely willing to get beaten up. If it means that he has to take a few beatings and a few ferocious hits to get out of jail, he'll do whatever he can as a means to get out of jail. He'll do whatever he can to do that, and I love seeing that determination Romero. It just gives him this edge this season that we just haven't seen the others, and I love seeing that. So in downtown White Pine Bay, Norman sits in a coffee shop while he admires the woman Madeline from the hardware store, and I really like Madeline in this episode. You can tell that Madeline, this is someone who is relatively quite innocent. She just wants to have this friendship with Norman, but it's a lot deeper than that for him. She makes her way over to the shop, has a chat with Norman, asking if she can set him up with someone. She was hoping to set him up with a girl named Joanne and double date, and reluctant to the setup, but excited to spend time with Madeline, he actually accepts. So Madeline's husband Sam shows up, and Norman realizes that Sam is a man who previously took his mistress to the Bates Motel. So we realize that Sam's mistress is without a doubt Marion Crane. Like, there really is no question about it. But Sam Loomis is in fact cheating on Madeline, and that's something I'm definitely getting into, is what ends up happening with that. So Norman arrives home to find Mother studying French on her laptop. And again, I love the inclusion of Mother in this show. And like I said before, this Mother is really not that different from Norma. You know, it's more like Norman's guilt. And Mother then questions Norman about his whereabouts all day. Norma then tells Mother that he visited Romero in prison, explaining that Romero's crazy, and Norma says she can take care of Romero whenever he gets out of prison. And Norman keeps asking, do you have feelings for him? Do you still want to be with him? But Norma's just not answering that question. I think it's because deep down, I think Norman knows that answer, that she does, that she definitely did love Romero. And that's kind of the thing that got Norman to kill Norma, is the thing that when he realized that Norma loved Romero more than she loved Norman, and not in the way that Norman wanted her to love him. And that's really the thing that made him go crazy. And it's that one thing that really breaks these two apart, and that's definitely something that this episode very well categorizes on. So soon they're interrupted by Chick, who I knew was definitely going to be in this season, but I didn't expect him to be as included as much as he is, and especially moving forward. I didn't expect where they're going with him, but he appears at the front door to check on Norman. He brings Norman some apples and says that he actually came to show him something, and he has a sack with him and says he has a business proposition for him, which is a rare bird that he needs stuff, which of course we've known Norman to be in the taxidermy business for a long time. This is really nothing new for him. So Chick says he'll bring Norman specimens and he'll help him sell his works of art, and Chick says he's broke and he needs the money, and he then strangely asks Norman how the freezer is working. So clearly he has fixed the freezer, but obviously he's unaware that Mother's in the freezer. I mean, there's no way that Chick would actually, bring Norman these goods if he thinks that Mother's in the freezer. Chick's not that crazy, but I do like the way that Chick is trying to help Norman. I like the friendship that they've struck up. I really like the actor that plays him, and I think they definitely done a good job with adding him in here. But Caleb then checks into a motel called King's Motel, and the man in the office lets him know that Norma is dead. It's a very powerful scene, and the actor who played Caleb did such a great job here with him denying it immediately, saying, no, there's no way, because, he didn't see anything about her being dead. There wasn't any records or anything, but the man says it was reported as a suicide. And remember, Norman is trying to make everyone think that Norma committed suicide, and, trying to make it seem like Romero is, crazy and blaming him for it and everything like that. So the man says it's reported as a suicide, and obviously Caleb is crushed about it, just his reaction in general. The actor did a really great job in that scene. You really did feel the emotion and the pain that he was going through, and I mean, no one should really have to get that news. That was definitely hard to listen to, but back at the Bates Motel, Madeline's husband Sam shows up to talk to Norman, warning him to stay up his relation with his wife, and Sam tells Norman he's a nice guy, but warns Norman not to screw with him. So you can tell this guy definitely does mean business, but I have a feeling he's going to get killed. Sam Loomis is a very famous character from the Psycho movie, and if you guys know, I believe he does eventually end up getting killed, so I'm pretty sure Sam Loomis will be on the show for a while, but I definitely think he is going to get killed. But I do like this whole subplot with Norman taking an interest in Madeline. So, meanwhile, Caleb heads to the cemetery where he finds a very detailed headstone of his sister's, which is dedicated to her from Norman, and Caleb kneels on the ground, which it's kind of weird to have that there. I mean, obviously, Norman had to build that so he can make it seem like she's really dead, but in reality, there's nothing in the ground. It's literally just dirt. I mean, I don't really know how that works, but I guess Norman got away with it. And, Norman is crazy enough that he found a way to get away with it. But Caleb kneels on the ground, sobs as he hugs Norma's tombstone, and again, even though we know all the shit that Caleb has done to Norma, deep down, he really loved his sister. And he really did, I think, want to have a genuine relationship with her. He definitely did want to be in her life. And Caleb didn't really know where to go after this. And I think he definitely did want to start anew. I think he definitely did want to turn around and Norma was the way he was going to do that. After Dylan wouldn't accept him, he was going to get back to Norma. Do I think Norma would have accepted him? No, but at the end of the day, you do got to kind of feel bad for the guy. I definitely thought they did a good job at kind of getting us to understand where Caleb was coming from. They've done a very good job with these first two episodes of actually getting us to sympathize with Caleb in a way we haven't, and I really like the way they've done that, especially being the final season. They've done a very good job with that, and this is a very good example of that. So Norman finds Mother smoking while listening to French music, and he asks her if she still loves Romero. And I love her answer for her smoking that, oh, I'm dead. Who cares if I'm smoking? And he asks her if she still loves Romero. Norman is convinced when she replies no. And of course, this is, Norman's personality because she never once calls him Alex. And as we know, Norma referred to him as Alex. So, of course, you can tell this is obviously Norman's version of Mother. So Mother asks Norman where he's venturing out to. He says a business meeting, and out on a double date. Norman and Sam are unimpressed with Madeline's friend Joanne. She's just not really all that interesting. Sam and Madeline show some tension at dinner. Things are clearly not good between them. I think Madeline definitely senses that Sam's having an affair, but Sam is trying to keep things, change the subject, and she obviously doesn't want him to. And I like that Madeline isn't stupid. Like, she knows that Sam definitely, something's going on with him. She doesn't know exactly about the affair, but she knows definitely that he's involved with something. So Joanne tells Norman that she heard about his mother and that she was sorry, and Nora reveals to Sam that she committed suicide, and this was obviously something that Sam didn't know. And again, we know that Norman deep down does know what really happened to his mother, but he just can't tell himself that. When he's in public and he's with people, sure, he's going to say it. He's going to say that to cover up his own ass, to make himself not sound like he's crazy, and he runs off into the bathroom. But before he does that, Madeline tells Norman that she's happy he came to dinner. And again, I like the friendship that Madeline is trying to spark up here. But while in the restaurant bathroom, Mother shows up to confront Norman about his lying to her about his dinner dates. And Mother's furious. One, because he's with a girl that looks exactly like her, and she finds that really creepy. But also because, as we know, this version of Mother doesn't want Norman to be in any other woman's life. Which, again, you can kind of understand why. Because it's just going to make her life more complicated. There's just so much complications going on with Norman. There's so much to reveal. There's so much that Madeline doesn't know about, and it's just going to make her life a lot more complicated. So before he does that, he should probably just leave her alone. But it's kind of too late. Madeline clearly does like Norman and does want to be invested with him. And it very much reminds us of that of Bradley and Norman. The difference with Bradley is that Bradley was just a teenage girl who was kind of at first using Norman for sex, but then kind of genuinely did like him. Madeline genuinely seems to want a friendship with Norman. Not a relationship, but a friendship. And basically, Norman ushers Mother out of the bathroom window, tells her to hide in the car while he finishes his evening. Mother wants to know why Norman's hanging out with a woman who looks just like her. She finds that obviously very strange, and yeah, she definitely should. So Romero consults with a lawyer about either being moved out of the prison he is in, saying he feels responsibility to stay alive so that he can care for his dead wife's son. Clearly, this is a lie. He wants to kill Norman. There's no question about it. He's going to kill Norman. But at this point, he will do literally whatever it takes to get out of jail. And if it means he has to say some things that are a bit dishonest, so be it. And again, I am completely on board Romero on this side. I mean, he's doing what he can to avenge his wife's death, who he very much cared about. And yeah, obviously, he's going to kill Norman, but you kind of want him to at this point. You can get why he wants to do that, and I love the way they're setting that up. So Mother decides that she's going to go out, and she walks into the bar, and this scene was awesome. I've always loved scenes like this where it goes between Norman talking, but actually the Mother personality. It just perfectly gets us into Norman's psyche. He takes on the personality of Mother. She sits and speaks to the bartender about being a caretaker for a mentally ill person. She says she doesn't think her patient likes her anymore, and yeah, that's very much true. It's not that. It's obviously because Norman doesn't, knows deep down that he doesn't want Mother in his life. He feels he doesn't need her there, and it's obviously because she's dead. I think Norman knows he's going crazy, which is kind of too late, but Mother says she always has to get him out of problems because he doesn't like to listen to her. And the bartender praises Mother for taking care of someone the way she does. Of course, the bartender just thinks this is some random guy who's just taking care of a troubled kid. He doesn't really think much of it. And that's what's so great about this scene, is that it puts you into all perspective. It shows you Norman's talking, so what the bartender sees, that it's just Norman talking, having this conversation about, being a caretaker for this kid, and who doesn't really seem to want to be in his life. but in reality it's actually Mother talking to the bartender about how she's getting tired of how she really wants Norman in her life, but he doesn't seem to want to be near her anymore, and she doesn't really understand that. It was just a great way of showing us all different sides here. Vera Farmiga and Freddie Highmore again acted the hell out of the scene. I love the way that was done. Even the bartender was great here. Really great scene overall. Definitely really did love that. But Chick is then sitting in a bar. He's writing when Caleb walks in, takes a shot. That was quite surprising that Chick was actually writing. And Chick sits down next to Caleb, who warns him not to mess with him. And Caleb wants absolutely nothing to do with Chick. Chick starts talking about how Caleb raped Norma when they were younger. Caleb attacks him. Chick realizes that Caleb just found out about Norma's death. And again, there's a lot of bad blood between these two, a lot of stuff that they've gone through. So the two have a brief conversation outside the bar. Caleb reveals that he believes that Norman killed Norma. There's really no other alternative. Why would Norma kill herself? I mean, she had a relatively good life. She was with Alex. Why would she kill herself? It just doesn't make any sense. And I do like how Caleb is not stupid here. He's starting to put the pieces together. And Caleb vows that Norman will not get away with it. He takes a cab back to the Bates Motel, breaks in the house. He shatters one of the front door windows. He frantically runs all over the house, calling out to his nephew Norman, just screaming for him in any way he can. He calls out to Norman, saying he knows what he did, and he ventures down into the basement, and he ends up discovering Norma's dead body right there, her frozen shrine. And Norman runs up behind Caleb's mother, attacks Caleb. Then we get to the ending, and that was just an incredible scene the way it was done. You have no idea what's going to happen here, because you obviously know Caleb's not going to kill Norman, so you don't know what's going to happen. But Norman eventually does run up as Mother attacks Caleb, very much like Psycho, the original film, when you had that jump scare with him dressed in the wig and everything. And we finally get to see that here, because Chick appears and is shocked as Mother. Norman turns to Chick and says now he knows Chick, he's still alive, and Chick is obviously in shock. He can't believe what he's seeing, and basically that is how the episode ends. And let's just get into this episode and where we're going to go from here. So, wow, really, I mean, what a shocking episode, especially the ending. I definitely did not expect them to go in this direction. Now, obviously, the show didn't outright say that Norman did kill Caleb, but I'm pretty sure he did. I mean, we know how Norman, and Mother have dealt with these things before, especially, in the first episode. Anyone that's going to come to kill Norman, he's just going to kill. That's just how it's going to be. Now, it was obviously Mother who did it. It wasn't Norman. This was all the Mother persona that's doing this sort of thing. But Caleb dying is pretty significant. I mean, it makes sense, though, because like I said, Caleb was a recurring character, and I'm like, what's up with that? He's being featured in the show a lot. Why is he billed as a recurring character? I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And honestly, I thought this was a really satisfying conclusion for Caleb, because Caleb, at the end of the day, really did care about his sister, and he really did want to help her, and they did a very good job with setting that all up. I actually really did like the direction that this is going, and now we got Chick involved, though, and this is definitely quite surprising where we're going with Chick, because Chick, I guess, is going to start seeing the Norma personality now that he knows that the Norma personality is, manifesting and that's actually alive. I don't exactly know how this is going to go, but it looks like next week Norman's actually going to show Chick that the Mother personality exists, and Chick's going to start to go along with it. I don't really know how that's going to go, but I like this. I like the inclusion of Chick, and we now know that Chick is writing this book. We don't know what it's all about. We know that Chick's writing this book now, and I personally feel that Chick is going to take any sort of juicy detail he can. He's just going to go along with it, and he's going to write it in the book, either to denounce Norman as crazy or something going on like that. I don't really know what it's about. I think he personally knows Norman's crazy, and he's just kind of going to go along with this stuff. But again, we don't really know. Chick is the next person to be thrown into this, wheel of craziness. So I don't know what's going to happen there. I think that is going to be very interesting. It was very surprising. I definitely not expect them to go in that direction with Chick, but I'm definitely interested in seeing where they're going to go with that, because I think that whole storyline is definitely very intriguing. There's a lot of places they can go there. What I'm more intrigued in, though, is this whole thing between Norman and Madeline, because like I said, Madeline genuinely does like him. She clearly does take an interest in him. It seems she does want more, of a friendship, and it's not something where she's just, wanting to fuck or wanting to make fun of him. She genuinely does want to have this friendship, and I think Norman does as well. This is someone who he genuinely does care about, but of course, as Mother is saying, he can't really have anyone close to him because it's going to end in a very fucked up manner. I mean, we know what happens whenever Norman gets close to a girl. He ends up either killing them or killing someone they're close to, so this really is not going to end well for Madeline. Now, do I think Madeline is going to die? I don't know. I don't know if Madeline's going to die. She's listed as a recurring character, so I'm assuming she's going to die, but again, I think Sam definitely is going to die before. Sam Loomis, whatever happens to him, he is a big part of the story, of course, and I definitely think that his mistress has to be Marion Crane. I mean, it just makes sense. You know, Marion Crane is such a big part of this final season. She's not going to be actually introduced till episode 6, but we did see him with that girl, and that girl looked very much like Marion Crane, who Norman has already taken some sort of a voyeuristic interest in, so I don't know what's going to happen there, but Sam definitely, there's going to be a lot of tension there. I think Norman's definitely going to try to take a strike at Sam at some points, and I suspect the worst for Sam. Sam is definitely going to meet his end by the end of the season, so we'll have to see, by the end of the series, I mean, so we'll have to see the way that goes down. As far as Dylan and Emma, relatively they are kind of on the other side of the spectrum where they're actually in this very peaceful life and they don't know really any of the events that went down. You know, Dylan has no idea what just happened with Caleb, and Emma, we now know that she kind of has now a personal reason for going after Norman, which she doesn't know about that yet, and I like that. It gives us now a bigger reason for Emma to still be in the show, because don't get me wrong, I love Emma as a character. I think the actress is fantastic. I think she's always done a very good job. But she's the one cares them like, okay, what does she really have, you know, after Norman? Now we know what it is. You know, now Norman killed her mother, which I completely forgot about. But yeah, he's the one that actually did kill her mother. Remember back in, I believe it was the penultimate episode of season 2, he went in, he killed her mother because of all the terrible shit she was doing. And now Emma's going to find that out. She's going to find that out this season. It's going to change everything she thought with her and Norman. It's going to be sad, but that's got to happen. I mean, that's just something that they're setting up quite well, and they talked about it, so I can't help but think that they're definitely going to come back to that at some point. So we'll have to see the way that all goes down. And then, of course, Dylan, you know, he still has no idea that Norma's dead, and you have to feel bad for him. I mean, at least Caleb found out before he died, but Dylan, he still has no idea, so what's his reaction going to be when he finds out that Norma's actually dead, and how long is it going to take him to realize that Norman is responsible for that? We'll have to see how that goes down. And then finally, Romero, I love where we're going with Romero here, that Romero's doing literally whatever he can to get out of jail. And I want him to get out of jail as soon as possible, because the quicker he gets out of jail, the quicker we can get the confrontation between him and Norman, and that's when things are going to just be incredible. I can't wait to see the way that's going to go down. This is already very Norman versus Romero, and I'm loving the direction this is headed. Overall, guys, I really am loving the season so far. It's different, that's for sure, but I do think it is so far a very satisfying final season. It's giving us all the stuff that we really do need for payoff, definitely. And Caleb's death definitely does show. The show is definitely not playing around. It's willing to kill off some major characters. I suspect Chick will die. I suspect, you know, Madeline might die. Sam might die. But again, we'll have to see what happens here. And I definitely did love this episode overall. I'm definitely going to give Bates Motel Season 5, Episode 2, the, I don't remember what the episode was called. What was the episode called? Shit. Let me just quickly remember what the episode is called, because I don't remember. The Convergence of the Twain, a 4 out of 5 or a B+. So far, guys, remember this episode, Bates Motel. Let me know what you guys thought of this episode overall. Loved your thoughts on it. Do you like where the season is going? I'm really loving this season so far, I have to say. But that's it for this video. Hope you guys enjoy it. We'll see you guys in my next video, which will be for tonight's episode of Shadowhunters, which, guys, there is only 2 episodes left. I can't believe it, but I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.